Thank you, Twan. Greetings, Douglas County. My name is Kelly Robinson. I'd like to welcome you to the September 5th, 2023 Douglas County Board of Commissioners Programming Committee. We're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to try to keep this meeting as tight as possible. We do have a full agenda for the most part, but we have not met since June of early this year. So this is almost like a quarterly meeting. But we're going to go ahead and establish our quorum from our roster. So we're going to go around the room and see if we've got a quorum here. It is supposed to be a 5-member committee. We've had some changes this year, and we will probably address that in a future meeting. But for right now, I'm going to acknowledge myself as Kelly Robinson, chair of this committee, as being present.
Vice Chair Tarania Carthen, present.
Yvette Jones, Chief Communications Officer, present.
Right, so with that, we've got 3 out of 5 members, which means we have enough to have a quorum to conduct the business. But let's keep going around the room for our support staff. We want you guys to acknowledge yourselves to the broader community. Who else is here?
Sierra McCoy, Communications Media Specialist.
AJ Faree, Production Assistant.
Carol Bridges, Legislative Aid.
David Good, Spas Communications.
Thank you all for being here this hour. So, Director, let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and adopt our meeting minutes from our last meeting of June of 2023. I believe that's first up on the agenda.
Yes.
So I make a motion to approve the agenda minutes from June 5th, 2023.
Okay, we got a motion. Can I get a second?
I second.
All right, got a motion second. Any amendments, additions, deletions?
No.
Any discussion? None. All right, all in favor say aye. Adopted unanimously. Director, keep us going.
So next on the agenda is updates. Some of these were reflected in our last meeting. We were discussing audio adjustments both in our studio and in Citizens Hall. So I wanted to start with the audio paneling in the studio. We were just about finished at our last meeting, and as of last week, the paneling in the studio has been completed. So I'll let Sierra McCoy speak to that.
So basically, Imatrace came in and they finished the additional install. So on the back side of the studio set, there are panels up there to kind of condense all the echoing and bouncing. So it'll take the sound and instead of just letting it fly upward, it'll bounce back down into the studio space. So it just makes it a little bit more of a controlled environment, allows for the lavaliers to really capture the audio a lot clearer, a lot better. It won't sound as if, I don't know if you've ever listened to like some old records, but sometimes you can tell that they're in a studio because you can kind of pick up some of the ambient sounds. It sounds like they're far away. This time it won't sound like that. It will just be more fuller, clearer sounding, and hopefully reduce a lot of the ambient noise.
And then I also asked if Amatrace could go into Citizens Hall and make an assessment of our audio there. So they went through Citizens Hall, and so all of the microphones there are new, and that was paid for with the ARPA funding. And so they tested all of those. Everything in terms of all of the equipment we purchased via Amatrace is working fine. And so it is outputting correctly. As long as people are doing what they should be doing, which is speaking directly into the microphones, and we still have a challenge with that, particularly from the podium. And that's why we asked our county clerk to remind citizens when they come to the microphone to please adjust it to their levels so that they are coming through clearly. But as far as everything that is going out through the new equipment, that's going well.
Yep.
Now, the other thing that I feel needs some adjusting, and this is beyond the scope of what Amatrace did, it's just sitting in Citizens Hall. It feels like, it sounds like sometimes it's difficult to hear depending on where you're sitting. That's not a function of the microphones that are in there, it's a function of the room itself. And so what I think needs to happen is we need to get with building maintenance and get some guidance and insight on what's in the ceiling, the previously installed PA system, because I think that's part of the problem. While we're getting that sort of echoey, hard to hear. audio within Citizens Hall. But I just wanted to make sure I pointed out that in terms of the equipment purchase through the ARPA funding, all of that is working beautifully. It is going out fine. But the room itself, I think, needs some adjusting, and that's a little bit beyond the scope of what we brought Amatrace in to do. And I'm not quite sure it's what they can address. I need to get with building maintenance and see what the other fixes might be.
Okay. Any thoughts?
You bet. Hey, Commissioner Bill Crane, I came in a second ago, a little bit late.
Okay.
I've noticed that the commissioners themselves, and correct me, Commissioner, you're the only one in the room, oftentimes have trouble hearing each other up on the dais, particularly the chair, because I'm sorry, Commissioner North, I didn't see I stand
It's my
corrected.
youthfulness.
I stand corrected. But usually, Mr. Coleman's voice is among the faintest on the dais, but I think a lot of times it's a microphone distance issue. So some of them lean forward, some of them don't. I can almost always hear Commissioner Robinson. I can always hear Commissioner Carthen. Sometimes Mr. Alvarez, his voice will go in and out. But I've noted, because I usually sit next to you on the front row, it's where they are relative to the microphone. So I don't think we got omnidirectional mics, one. And two, might be worth just pricing lavaliers for the 6 of them. Because we could put those close enough where it's going to be less of an issue. And I know there's wireless patch communication because Phyllis showed me in the back room. I don't know how many ports there are. But just because so many times the audience will say, hey, they can't hear people on the dais, and the dais, particularly the chair who's deaf in one ear, will say, I can't hear anything Mr. Coleman says, and a lot of what Mr. Corbin says. And I've even said today that lean into the microphone. Because coming from broadcasting, you eat it like an ice cream cone, you're kind of safe. But most people are just not familiar, and they don't feel comfortable with it's literally just a few inches from their mouth. But that's about the only way in a room that large with the acoustic problems that I just alluded to make sure everybody can hear.
I don't mind laving them. The only concern I have with that is we would also have to figure out our adjustment when it comes to the planning and zoning. Because now that we are working with a joint board, I'm gonna have 6 that are live and 6 plus that are not live.
And also turning off law so that people leave the dais.
Yeah. And then the other part of that is if we invest in wireless lavs, then that means I gotta invest in more batteries, because if I wire them in, it's gonna be hard for them to just naturally get up and get out. I would rather be able to have them wirelessly live so then they could unclip, set the whole
And
night.
the other option is the wireless handhelds. But again, if you don't address the microphone, literally like this,
Then
you're still gonna have a challenge.
Would that solve the problem with not being able to hear them in the room? That would solve the problem with the stream, not with everyone being able to hear each other within the room.
I think that at least one speaker needs to be aimed at the dais. I don't think any speakers this week, we're sitting here today, are aimed back at you. Can you hear everything, Scarlett?
I can.
You okay? So when Mr. Coleman talks, because he's got probably the softest voice regularly speaking on the dais.
Let me duly noted. This is something from an overall perspective of communication. It's about accuracy. And if you're looking at something and it's intermittent in and out, and I think this started with us being about online, our videos and stuff, and how okay, they're choppy, we can't be consistent. So I want to separate the two things. Live in the audience, live versus online.
Right.
And in day it's about codification of our record, open record. And is the record accurate? Can we hear it? Is it up to the quality that we expect it should be as a professional? I get you guys are communication, but come on guys, we want it to be, NPR level standard. We want to be clear. We're not asking for anything unreasonable. Whatever is necessary, I'm sure you guys technically. So at some point I'm just listening, but okay, technically you get beyond my capacity to be able to, but okay, but what should be the standard? All right, so whatever we need to do, we'll fall in line by where protocol, whether it's lavalier, suit us up, whatever. We just want to be a consistent experience when it comes to government
I've consistently never had problems hearing you. I can say that.
Right, so you get it, I won't belabor this because we want to continue on with our topic, but is there an action item here? Is this just more of an update?
It is partly an update, but then for me, the action item is getting with building maintenance, because I do think that we are talking, you're right, we're talking about the audio that streams out, but we're also talking about room acoustics. And just from the standpoint of being someone who sits in the audience, to see that experience, to me seems like it's a little hollow, and I think that is a room acoustics issue.
And I do really know that, no different than the new amphitheater over at the city of Douglasville. I'm sure they've got acoustics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure, they got to nail that, right? Be able to handle that type. So I'm sure, I have no problem through concurrence to go ahead and talk to, but Mark Price, those guys. And
that's a start. That may be the wrong direction, Commissioner, but that's at least the start, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe walking in the dark a little bit here, but I think that's where we need to at least start.
And I'll close with this, to your point. When we did put those speakers in, I would like to see what's below those. Are those some Radio Shacks that I put in like 15 years ago? Or have we really upgraded those? So, duly noted. Don't look at them. I have 5-in-1. Any area in my place, I hear everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So yeah, think about it. Step back for a minute. It's just not that speakers, like the placement of them as well, as far as us being able to hear. So it's us speaking, but as well as the sound. So, you got this.
Yes. And as I mentioned, we did have, I'm sorry, Vice Chair.
I was just gonna say, one of the things that we have had to deal with in all the courtrooms, and that too is considered a courtroom, is the PA system, right? And so that may be, something that we have to look at along with the acoustics. So I would say kind of try to tackle both of those and then come back to your findings.
Sounds good.
Our PA system. Right.
Yes. The next thing on the agenda is just an update regarding I think last we met, we were about a month ahead of me going to the Georgia Government Communicators Conference and presenting, along with my colleague at the City of Douglasville, about our collaborative work producing the hometown celebration for American Idol.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a successful training. We trained probably a room of about 40 people from across the state who handle communications and community engagement in their cities and counties throughout the state. So we just talked to them about, first of all, the whirlwind nature of how it came to us, and then how we, in the matter of about 12 days, produced a hometown celebration collaboratively with our partners at the school system and with the City of Douglasville. How do we do these things? What were the elements that were successful? What were some of the things that maybe need to be tweaked a little bit? And it was a learning opportunity for our colleagues, across the state, in terms of producing not specifically a hometown celebration, but what happens when you have to come together to produce something pretty quickly. What are the resources needed? How do you make these things happen? How do you partner with collaboratively with partners? Which partners do you need to work with? What are the things you need to consider and think about? So that was the nature of that training, and it went over really well. So appreciate the opportunity to be able to go and do that.
Absolutely. Madam Vice Chair?
And I just wanted to say, I know it was almost 2 months ago that this happened, but for you all to have to come together with a national media stage to produce it went, to me, at least the part that I was in, it was seamless. It went so well, even dealing with the American Idol staff, even when they came in and they brought her in, everything was just seamless. How they communicated with you guys, how they wanted to do the next take with them, everything, it was like everybody had been working together. So I would have known that you all had, just had
12 days.
Yeah, to put it in. It just shows the professionalism on how everybody came together to do that. So yeah, kudos to you. And I'm pretty sure now, that you've been on the state stage, everybody's gonna be calling you for those nuggets.
And honestly, I enjoy participating in those types of trainings because it's just good to kind of hear best practices from my counterparts, and for us to just share different ways of doing things, you know, success stories beyond, you know, something like a hometown celebration, but just how do we do our day to day? What are some of the things that are working well in this county or this city? What sort of
Just think
tweaks?
if we'd had the town green 2 months earlier.
Right. You know, yeah. So thank you for that opportunity. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. No, but to that point, I heard, obviously I heard behind the scenes how it really didn't go down like you just said. In other words, no, it was a yeoman's effort. So that's the part that you can't say publicly. And how y'all were handed y'all hand and y'all got involved and y'all had to do what in 12 days?
And
You had to work across 3 jurisdictions and what now? And all these commitments and promises and conditions and stuff, and you gotta pull this together? And nobody sees, I mean, we get life, but to do what y'all did in 12 days on something that big, it was beyond, I mean, we all came together, sounds like, for the greater good. But somebody had to lead, and I appreciate the leadership you guys demonstrated now. Okay, we'll come back to this later. We'll debrief later. The fact y'all got it done. And it goes on saying, they wonder, like, oh, we planned this so perfectly in 12 days. No, y'all had to grab hold of this thing. And I had to acknowledge that part, that thank you. You guys did a good job. Thank you. Excellent job. So your participation. So.
And Commissioner, if I may,
Yes.
I wanted to take this opportunity publicly to thank our law enforcement, because, you know, we had 12 days, they had a little less than 12 days.
Right.
And we know that public safety is tantamount in situations like this, because you're planning, you know, to make sure that it is a successful event, but you're also planning to have, you know, potentially thousands of people in a concentrated area. And so we just appreciate the cooperation of the sheriff's department, the police department, the school police force. I mean, everybody who came together to make it happen. So we appreciate that.
And the queso dip.
And the queso dip that she requested at the last minute.
I get it. I understand.
Yes.
All right. Anything else on this topic?
Nothing else on that topic.
Keep going, please.
Okay, so next is our programming overview, and this really is just a mix of things.
What about when Douglas Forest goes?
Oh,
Simple skips.
I always have missed one little program. So and probably because I don't want to say a whole lot about it right now. I think as a Friday, we can talk a little more publicly about it, but we'll be, you know, for those staff members who are listening to this now, close your ears. The official announcement will be going out to the staff, county staff, probably later today or tomorrow. But this is Employee Appreciation Week, and in connection with that, we will be rolling out the One Douglas Forward Together. Really, it is, in its simplest terms, it is a slogan that you, as the Board of Commissioners, have so graciously adopted. But we are looking at it as more than a slogan, but really a governing philosophy about your commitment, how you want to push and move this county forward as a unified force, moving in a positive direction. So it is a slogan we've adopted, and as we roll out Employee Appreciation Week, we will be integrating One Douglas Forward Together with that, rolling it out, introducing it to Douglas County employees this week. And then there will be, along with that, there's a video we produced, which I've sent out to the Board of Commissioners via email, that just encompasses your thoughts and your insights about what One Douglas Forward Together is. So that's about all I'd like to say about it until we officially roll it out.
It looked great.
You like the video?
The preview I saw, it looked fantastic. You guys did a great job.
This is the editing. We won't talk about the behind the scenes and how many edits, and you know, and how many times they don't say it, but they look at me like, oh, okay, that little thing we got. Yes, let's change that little thing. So yes, and thank you for your input on that. It was your interviews were phenomenal.
Yeah.
Not much.
I have only one question. I know you don't want to give too much on it, but is this something that you are implementing with, I will say, community partners?
Not yet. I think that is part of the larger plan. And you know, we wanna see what kind of momentum One Douglas Ford Together takes on, but initially, the thought process is that we introduce it to our employees and let them, it starts here with the governing body, and then we push it out to the workforce and let them have an opportunity to marinate on it, embrace it. And then from there, we believe it's something that will last forever, right? And so how then do we, how does it take on new life beyond internally? And so I think there is room for that as well. And we would love to connect with our partners on it as well. Because, as the slogan indicates, it's not just, it's all of us working together, all facets of the community, all facets of this government agency working together to move this county forward. So, yes.
Okay, that was on my own question.
And we would be open to any suggestions on how you'd like to see it implemented with, externally and with our partners. We would love suggestions on that.
Got you. So we're rolling it out now. I know September Saturdays is coming up, but that's one way to kind of get the community involved in what do they think One Douglas incorporates? How do they see One Douglas forward together? So that just may be an opportunity. I know we want to get the internal, but the external as well is important. So that may be an opportunity.
Have cameras, have microphones, we'll travel.
Okay.
So we will, be out and about during September Saturdays, and we will be asking that very simple question of people who are there enjoying the festivities. What is One Douglas to you? What is One Douglas Ford Together? What does that mean to you?
Sounds good. Well, I will stay in my lane. I think.
To that point, we have a strategic plan. We have a number of sets of plans, and with community input in case. In other words, we know where we're going. We know what our priorities are. So, just for the record, this new slogan in relation to the actions that the board takes, the actions and decisions we have to make, how does that align, right? I mean, how does this overlay? How does this?
I think
that's a softball love. I'm not looking for a relay. I'm throwing it up there for you to bring it, like bridge the gap.
I think it touches on all pegs of the strategic plan. When you think about, public safety, you think about, transforming Douglas County. I think of all the pegs of our strategic plan being encompassed in this slogan. I mean, I think that that strategic plan is our guiding document, right? But I look at this as a governing and guiding philosophy of implementing and moving forward and operating with that philosophy, with those particular, really community mandates in mind as we move forward together.
Okay. So again, this was just a conversation that was a good trigger. So to the point, we got general government, in which you're obviously voice, VMB, the board, VMB, the chair, single voice. But also got fortunate other peers that are elected that sometimes moves differently. I get Madam Vice Chair's point, which is the broader committee and our partners out there. Let me stay inside for a minute. How will does this include the elected officials that are beyond the board of commissioners as one Douglas or the other?
I envision it that way, yes. And let me tell you, honestly, we tested the waters a little bit with a One Douglas Ford Together teaser. And what I realized, and the reason we pulled it back and decided to roll it out internally and make sure there was that internal buy-in, is because when we pushed it out externally, there was, I think, some confusion or some concern about, we're spending money on something else. What is it we're spending this money on? When it really wasn't about spending money, it was about, a philosophy, a governing philosophy. So I pulled it back a little bit. That was a strategic plan on my part, to pull back and begin with the internal first, and then explore ways that we wanted to then push it out externally. And I think when we first began talking about One Douglas Ford Together, the vision I had, at least, was that it would be something that would be global. It would be, I'm envisioning all pockets of, elected officials, all pockets of, the entire, community, whether it be in the school system, whether it, HOAs, wherever it is, we are all one Douglas forward together. We can't just operate in this pocket or that pocket. And so I've always envisioned it as something where we bring everyone together. Yeah, it's aspirational for sure. But so right now, we're owning how we like it to be, right? But next year, maybe we toss the ball over to the school district, or further down the line to the city of Douglasville or one of our other municipalities, right? How do you see One Douglas? How will you embrace this? What form will it take on for you? So to me, it's always been all encompassing, but we made a strategic decision a couple months ago to pull back and to start slow and to start internally.
Okay, so, wait. I gotta make a comment that says, but if you're doing your job, you can't get caught up in the political narrative
Sure.
in the execution of your job. So I have to say that for the record. What's the right thing to do? Well, if you have an assignment and funding wasn't an issue, why are you pausing on the fact that you're supposed to get the assignment back? That you've got to separate, y'all have got to separate these rooms. Those are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're putting an unnecessary constraint on yourself that doesn't even exist. I get it, but if this is where it takes you to go, you gotta do the research to get to here. You're like, well, it may cost me, but if the research is for my life, if it's for get my eyes healed, you say, well, they complain about I'm doing R&D. What are you saying? There you go. I had to say that for the record.
Okay.
Secondly, I get you. You separate the rooms. School board is not the city council, which is not the board of commissioners.
Sure.
3 separate jurisdictions. And right now, let's get our own house in order. And I gotta hear more about my elected. You have to include these electeds, amongst us at the county level. That right there, city is city, school boards, or whatever the kids, we everything else. And so it's important that we get along, that we're one accord. That's what a battle is won. I get the vision. I get okay, guys, if you get this all right here, we get all on one page, then we really accomplish something. Everything else is just the outer universe. I want to get this holy done. Let's do what we live. Let's get our vision together.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get our message clear.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad we're here, because my last point before this meeting is talk about overall media policy, our overall media. It's funny how look, we're putting down videos. And when do we start censoring videos? When do we stop talking? When do we stop? Where did that come from? That goes against the whole open record. No, it should not be a prohibition about us getting the message out there, getting the voice out there. The whole point is to communicate. Just y'all group in this one should not be something about, wait a minute, that's the whole point, let you know what government is up to. You don't put down a meeting when do we start producing videos? When do we start censoring ourselves? Where did that come from? Oh, y'all must be, where's the open record? When do we selectively begin to choose what we're gonna talk about? When do we go, why are we gonna hold back up? If your name is Kelly Robinson, then you say your name Kelly Robinson proudly, whatever it costs. But if you say that, people afraid that I'm talking, because somebody's afraid that he's talking, there he goes, there they go, that's the whole point. That y'all have to amplify what's here. So I'm just saying, y'all are the amplification of the voice. You amplify what's here. You don't put a filter on the very thing we're asking you to go and tell the people. Amplify that. I just had to say that one for the record, that we've got to come back to and be more formal. If we have to put a policy around it, in case y'all need cover, no, this is how we're gonna do this. So we're gonna play a policy game. Okay, we're gonna put a policy on everything. Okay, this is the policy. Now you gotta put it out there. There can't be no G money selectively. Don't put that out there. Don't say that. Here's the policy. Here's the standard. Now let's roll. I'm trying to give y'all cover. Like, no, y'all should be able to do what you got to. Why are you being politicized? You're supposed to be a voice as is. Why are you backing your stuff like, what do they got to do with y'all? Get the voice out there. If that's us, that's our smell, that's our essence, that's our voice. And you're gonna cover it and not say anything and filter. I don't know if we should let this out. But what's the point of having communication then? I digress. All right, but I think you guys hear my heart that no, let's crank this. You're on the right path. We're giving you the tools, equipment, whatever is necessary. Please hear our heart, at least from my perspective. I think the board has consistently always supported communication. So it's however you see it. I won't belabor this point. I get where you're going, one Douglas, for together. You guys will work it out. I won't preempt Friday. We'll hold off on that. We'll get y'all better get us out that military conversation though in time, because we won't pull up. But I hear you. But I want to leave time for Madam Vice Chair's point about and I think this is a segue. How do we evaluate ourselves from a communication perspective, whether it's 90 days, 30 days, first quarter, first half year, budget cycle? Did you want to talk a little bit more about that? I'll get you.
Want to put, you and the communications department on blast. But I would like to know, coming in, like, what have you assessed? What can be done better, right? We understood that when you were coming in, that we were doing changes to upgrade, the room and the equipment, and our district dialogues have frozen, right? Because we want to be able to christen the new area, right, with our district dialogues and the new format, hopefully, and all those things. I believe you. I believe you're getting it together. It's just for us. We would like to know, okay, where are we? What do you see? How can we make this better, right? Because to his point, our voice is only amplified or clearly messaged through you, through Mr. Crane, through the media specialists, like when they're editing, when they're filming, like that is the government brought to the people. Because most people will not come up here to this courthouse or come in this boardroom and sit and hear us. Sure. They're relying on all of you to get the message out, whether it's print or whether it's, on television or streaming. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted an update, like, where are we? What do you see? What can we expect? How can we as commissioners, because I'm excited about what we're getting ready to do. I just need to know what we're doing. Yeah.
So we're doing a lot. You mentioned assessment. I wanted to come in and get a sense of where we are, what some of the positive things were, what some of the challenges, and how do we move forward. So what I've been able to determine in my time here is that we have a huge, I'm just going to speak to the television station alone, a huge resource in that. And in my estimation, we should be using it more. We should be using it more to tell the story of Douglas County, to tell the story of the work that the governing body is doing, to tell the story of the work that the employees are doing, the various departments, the elected officials, all of our partners. And so that's what I have been working on systematically, trying to, level up some of our programs. So we've added some small programming things like, This Week in Douglas County, which is something that is kind of dual purpose. It is a weekly recap of exciting things that have happened in Douglas County over the week. And usually it's about a minute, 2 minutes. That airs on, we play that on social, but also on our television station. Of course, we are, tapped to cover different events that are going on, whether it be commissioner events or county-wide events. So we've been doing that, and I'll go through that when we get to the programming overview section, just some of the things we've covered in my time here and some of the things we have coming up. So one of my biggest goals is to increase the programming that's on our television station, because that is a huge resource. And not just to have programming that's just within the confines of the studio walls, but producing programming, videos and such that can be used across many different platforms, because people just consume media in different ways these days. They don't all sit and watch our cable access station, but it needs to also be a repository for some of the for the programming that we're producing. So district dialogues, we did have our first district dialogue taping, and I'll get into that in a second, in the studio last week with Commissioner Alcaraz, and I thought that went really well. It was, test run in the studio on that set. What does it look like? And I thought it looked really, really good. And so I'd like to see more of that type of programming, with commissioners, also with, some of our partners within county government. I'd like to see there be, updated programming that is on a consistent basis. Beyond that, looking at things like, just for me, quality is the most important thing to me. That quality and accuracy in whatever it is we're doing. And so that's a strong focus for me. So, what we're pushing out on social, what we're putting on our website, is it correct? Is it accurate? Because I want us to be, as a communications department, a trusted source of information for the community. That's really, really important to me. And so that's one thing we're working on, is beefing that up. I think we're pretty solid on the television side. We've got some talented people here who are doing amazing work. Our One Douglas video is a testament to that, but some of the other video projects we've done, they are really a talented team. Yes, we will continue to focus on, strengthening our skill set. We can all use that. I mentioned me going to the conference. That helps me to strengthen my skill set. We'll be looking to add to the team I'm looking at the house in, there's one umbrella, there's communications, there's the TV side, and there's the general comm side that helps me with things like, writing press releases or articles, or, supporting commissioners with talking points and whatever along those lines. So those are some of the areas, that is specifically an area that needs a little bit of help, because right now it's just me on the general comm side. So I'm looking to strengthen that side of the house. But for me, it is, it's just producing quality work and being a trusted source of information for our community, for our media. I can also speak to us trying to make sure that we are, being a source of information for our local media. If they have a question about something, we try to be, between Mr. Crane and I try to be pretty responsive to getting them the information they're requesting, getting them the answers they need. So it doesn't just stop with general community. It is, how are we giving media what they need to tell our stories as well. But not just depending. I think we're just in a great spot where we don't have to, like we did in days of old, depend on media to tell our story. We can tell our own story. And so, just looking at the various ways we can do that. Yes, we can do it through our television station. I want to also implement, at some point, maybe a quarterly newsletter where some of the things that are happening is also reduced to writing, where people can see pictures and see the stories associated with the work we do. So, for people who like to consume, their information in that way, I'd like to see us do a newsletter as well. I know we have the Happenings newsletter that we push out, but that's generally more visual arts, graphics and, that sort of thing, not really commentary or narrative that goes with those things. That's more informational. How do you plan your life, right? Plan your calendar. But I am looking at something that is more sort of, informational, that gives a narrative along the lines of how some of our video stories do as well.
I get everything you're saying, right? We can't leave out, our streaming platforms that a lot of people do rely on. They will tell me in a heartbeat, oh, I saw Next Door Neighbor or Facebook that this was going on. And I'm like, I don't know about that. I hadn't heard that, but let me check on that for you. But to that point, we do have to be a trusted source. And I think a lot of times our community does not equate everything that goes on under this dome. They just don't, right? They only get such a small segment of what's highlighted on somebody's 5 or 6 o'clock news, or the the headlines on a community newspaper where they're missing out on the other 16 functions of government where we're doing extremely well and we have their best interests at heart. They don't get that because we never report any of that. They don't equate that the people that they're saying come and roll back on taxes, they're not equating. You're talking about rolling back people's jobs, people's life, like all of this functions because, right, we're one community. And in order for us to move forward, we need you in this equation. We're just not here dictating, right? These are real people, real jobs, real services that we as a community need. And I think we just don't do a good job of telling that. And whenever they come up to the microphone, we're reminded of that. We're reminded of that, right? So I just, it is my hope that as you are, right, the mouthpiece for us, putting it out there, we can do a better job of getting that.
And I think that's the ultimate goal is really, because there are just tons of stories to be told about the work we do. How we do the work we do. And you're right, it is our job to put that information out. And that is, will it happen overnight? No. Are we working on it? Yes. You mentioned the millage rate. I'll take that as an example. It is something that for a lot of people is confusing. First of all, what is a millage rate? Yes. How does this thing work? All I know is the bill I get. And so one of the things we did, with county administration's help is to produce just a quick informational, what is the millage rate video? And, I have gotten some anecdotal feedback about how the people thought that was helpful because, I didn't really understand it in that context. Or, when you used real dollar examples, now I see, okay, you're talking about maybe $25 here or maybe $70 there when you use those real examples. And so that's another thing I'd like us to be able to do is to make sure that we are using our platform and our resources to educate people about their county government.
Great point. Because I don't even think people understand that the Board of Commissioners does not, appraise your values. That's a whole separate board. That's the Board of Assessors. Mm-hmm. So you have to go to the Board of Assessors, which is a different board.
And that's an educational video.
That's an educational video. How this works.
Because some people didn't realize, there's this school board.
There's a school board.
There's a school board millage rate, and there's our millage rate. And so, it's our job to, produce information and whatever platform, fits that particular situation to produce that information and get it out so that.
And in a timely manner so that people know, because to me, as soon as assessments, before the assessments even went out, people should have known you can appeal. You feel as though you're like all of that comes from communicating, right? So I can say it 10 times, but once you put it out, you put it on the website, you put it on the Facebook, you send it to Douglas County Sentinel. Okay, now we're hitting all of the different platforms that people may be able to get that information from. So that's one of the things, right? And I think the more we do that and the more clarity and transparency we have in that, people will start to rely on us and they will start going, okay, well maybe maybe what I read on Facebook may not be true. That ain't on the Douglas County Happens Facebook page. So, those types of things.
And then the other thing I'm working on is streamlining our branding and streamlining, our identity. How do we appear to people? I think we appear in a couple of different colors. We appear in a couple of different images. We, some places we're Douglas County government and other places we're happenings. I'm really taking a closer. We're celebrating Douglas County. Who are we? And who do we want to be? And so I am looking at streamlining our branding. There are a couple of little things that
even inside the building, it's like 6 or 7 different treatments of the courthouse logo, depending on which office we're talking about. But we're not all part of the administration per se, but the courts has a different, the DA's office.
Or there are different takes on, a stationary logo. Everybody, people kind of tweak it.
Different fonts.
And it may seem like a small thing, but I think consistency is also important, especially when, look at some of our, the other agencies and some of my counterparts and the work they do with, with their cities and counties, there is a consistency of imaging, which I think also equates to a consistency in messaging. So it's all tied together, and honestly, there are so many different things that my mind never really turns off, there are lots of different ways I think we are trying to tackle this whole messaging task we have before us.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Then I'll close that. We've probably got about 15 minutes for you to do your highlights of program updates. But, again, back to, it's always about the messaging. I want to acknowledge the fact that, I got the TV side. That's production.
Mm-hmm.
That takes time. That has to be scheduled. But, now I have to use me for an example. And I listen to the narrative. Now, why does Mr. Robinson have to go spend money on social media above and beyond having staff? I had to get my colleagues from out in the community to come do my town hall when the Parker County Administrator started at 230 Thornton Road. It comes off flawless. Why do I have to use her for my HOA boot camp 2 years ago? No, because they weren't here. I hear you. Now I'm having to incur expenses above and beyond I'm gonna get my message out. I really don't care about what nobody else thinks. I don't want about optics. But I'm just letting you know. Now listen, why does the commissioner have to? It was that important to me to get my message out. I lay down my breadcrumbs. You go out there, whatever. I gotta get that message out there. And I get the creation of this production, the creation of the outlet, the creation. But what do we do? But there's decisions that we made. There's things about get that out. That should just be hot off the it's that old school journalism, that old school, that quick read, that AP, that we've lost that. And what's happened is that we're being dealt our own hand. We're our own set of facts. That's my issue. How are you gonna take my back and tell what it's saying? How did that work now? But I'm not mad at them. Hear me. Yeah. But come on, get our message out there. Just get our message, whatever that is. You're hearing our heart. We need to feel this. You're look, we give what you need now. But there's still, the other thing is about time. I can't wait no year for y'all to figure this out. You gotta go faster. You gotta go faster. That's one thing y'all hear me say across the board. Guys, we ain't got all day. Y'all got staff, y'all got positions and stuff. We on cycles as elected officials. So our measure of time is different than y'all. It's different. Just want to leave that alone. You hear my heart. I don't have to go on that. We'll talk about that later. With that being said, let's keep going. You got one more item on your agenda. I gotta keep going.
If you don't mind, could I let Bill Crane chime in on some of what you said?
Come on.
Yes, sir. Bill, the department offer up. There are times when issues completely out of our control still get brought to us more frequently than we'd like, but both of you speaking to village rates and appraisals and assessments recently. The assessor's office let us know 7 to 10 days after they knew that somewhere on the order of 15,000 homeowners did not have their homestead exemption calculated in the assessment that they received. So the news coverage of that, which was a pretty big ooze, was minimized in terms of being hostile to the county, and the second correspondence that went to all of those households did go out pretty quickly, and we haven't had, to my knowledge, that many complaints or concerns expressed, unless you've heard them directly, from those homeowners who originally got the wrong bill. So timeliness is something that this department isn't in control of in terms of when information is shared, but we're only as good in terms of messaging as that information flow. So particularly when things go sideways, you could, as the elected officials, help Mr. Corbin and the other commissioners put that pressure on the department heads, because there's a tendency when mistakes are made to not want to share and to let it be uncovered later. And so I can assure you, from having done this for decades, you get credit for stepping into the sunshine like we did when the school board recently moved the date for approving the millage rate.
Yeah, we turned that around in, I don't know,
Not even
less than an hour.
Yeah, and
Or
we
less
got the new ad in the paper and the story, which resulted in explaining this to people that you will adopt the full millage rate this evening, kind of made a one sentence reference to the school board by law, which is true, has to precede us, and so we had to move our date forward again instead of county moves millage rate public hearings for the third time. So we have turned a corner, I believe, in credibility, and Inspector, what you said, Commissioner Coleman, about consistently and then timely response. There, some of those wheels have come off when that arrived, and certainly when I got here, and I think all four wheels are back on and we're rolling.
Mm-hmm.
I do acknowledge that, and do know that I appreciate you being behind the scenes. I know the value you bring, so keep it up. Make us look good. I get it. It's small thing, right? Let's keep going.
Okay, this is just a quick rundown of some of the programming we have done and then what's to come. Of course, we did the Juneteenth program, which was, we recorded that live to tape, which means, we pretty much recorded it as is. We did a little bit of post-production that then aired pretty consistently on our station. Of course, the Punkintown Bridge setting, we covered that as well and turned that into a profile in our This Week in Douglas County weekly video series. The Beauty of Georgia Artist Talk. One of the things Constituent Services is working on is doing a running series of different artists exhibits, and then along with that, they are doing artist chats to get a little more insight into what is all of this. And so that was something, again, we recorded live to tape and turned it around and posted it, of course. Also, your HOA, 8th annual HOA boot camp. I thought that went over really, really well. I heard you reference 600 viewers, and I think we're well over 1,000 at this point on all the platforms that we pushed it out on. And so, we're proud to cover that and then turn that around and have it on our station as well. We covered the District 4 community meeting that same day as your HOA boot camp and turned that around on social that day as well. And then, of course, we mentioned the millage rate video. We're looking for other opportunities to put together educational videos that just help the public understand what their government does a little bit better. And then we did do the District 4 district dialogue, and that was recorded in studio, and that was the first one in studio. So we're looking forward to having both of you in to do your upcoming district dialogues, and I think you'll be really pleased with the way in which it looks on camera in the studio with the lighting and the set. We can customize the backdrop of the set with any pictures or anything that is specific to what you're talking about or specific to your district. We can do that. Let's see. And then coming up, we've got the Patriot Day program, which is coming up on Monday, September 11th. Of course, we'll be doing door-to-door coverage of September Saturdays on both the 23rd and the 30th. This is the first time, I'm told, but Founders Day, October 17th, working with Constituent Services to produce a program celebrating and acknowledging Douglas County's founding. And that's on October 17th. And then, of course, some of the usual things we cover, the Veterans Day Parade, Operation Greenlight, and the Christmas tree lighting. And those are just some of the things we know are on our calendar, and we just learn to adjust as needed when other things pop up, and just be as flexible as we can be with that. That's my quick rundown before we get to discussion.
Anything else? I mean, but anything else on that topic, y'all? All right, keep going. Last one. Discussion.
So now we just have open discussion about any. I think you've touched on some really good things that we've heard your heart, and we've taken to heart the things you've said, and we will keep this the ship moving in a positive forward direction. I think I've got a good team of people. I look forward to adding to that team, and really just working on being a top tier communications department. That means the world to me. And so, some days I'm always demanding, but some days more than others on things that they don't always understand, because I have the responsibility of the bigger picture. But I want us to be top notch, and I want us to be a trusted, reliable source of information. And so we will just continue pushing until we are that, and until we are recognized as such, both internally and externally.
That's very smooth.
Thanks, Rose. And just a couple of things, and then we can adjourn. I know you and I had talked about the website, the Celebrate Douglas County, right? So kind of, I guess, everything is there. It's just hard to navigate, find everything, right?
Yeah.
It's a couple of 3-4 clicks till you get to something, right? And even the search bar, like I put in this morning planning and zoning because I wasn't sure if the planning and zoning meeting was today or tomorrow. And all I saw was 2022 stuff come up. It didn't have, necessarily right. So even the indexing. So definitely getting with our, because we just had it rebound like 2 years ago. So, and updates are necessary because we are constantly doing things, right? So making sure that that's in your budget if it's not, right? Social media is big. There are new platforms that are coming out. I heard the Lemonade platform is out now, right? So I'm like, okay, what are all
Lemonade, Threads.
Threads, that's right. Yes. Okay, the young people know, right? So there are so many places where, we want to capture audiences that, again, to your point, don't look at the TV and may not be on Facebook, right? So we, just those types of things that when you're considering your budget and you're considering what you see and how we're moving, communication, please don't leave those things out. That's my request. Okay.
I have some information for you. I made a note. I'll send it to you. I did some deep dive research. I reached out to Civic Plus to find out information about changing our domain name and to see what that would entail. So I have details on that, but I wanted you to review before anything else.
Yeah, I mean, it's clunky, and even the money, as I understand, was invested before my time for the website. It needs to be more user friendly. It needs to be more intuitive. It's not. I'm not going to belabor that point because I know Commissioner Robinson has to go, but that is also a focus. And in fact, Bill Crane and I had a brief meeting about that this morning. But that's what we're going to be working on also over these next few months, where I have his assistance. It was really taking a deep dive into revamping that website. And part of that is also going to be with the cooperation of our various departments, because, it's like peeling, the layers of an onion. Like you think you've made a change here, but, it's 15 other pages that are then associated with it. So we need the help of our departments, our directors to say, hey, I need them to come through and audit their sites and then give us those changes or updates that need to happen.
And also archiving things offsite. Like YouTube, Facebook, there are places we could park content easier than trying, like if you put in Board of Commissioners meeting March, it's gonna bring up meetings from 2018.
Exactly.
And instead of the way YouTube does it, which is chronological.
Right. Current. Right.
Yeah.
That's it. I yield.
I won't believe it. I'm gonna let y'all, right, going into just because the budget, the fall is budget, appropriation, and legislation. We will end. We'll just let you know ahead of time that, like, hey, we're behind this, but this is when we really do get feedback as a board and stuff. We get it all year long. But you're on to something. And again, y'all, you need a webmaster. Get somebody, the same thing you're doing on content and PR and guys. Nobody's driving that. And that's where you're going to get your yield at, is that online. I mean, I appreciate the production, but it's instinct. And everything doesn't rotate around that CelebrateDouglasCounty.com. It is truly not, we're not a moon to it as an earth. Like, don't just swing around, like she said, don't just sit there. Nobody, it's not relevant. You gotta take government to them, go to them. So, but you got that, I won't believe at that point. I agree with all these things. I mean, again, it's all about communication. It's all about transparency. You don't understand how vital you guys are to the functioning of our government. We can talk about how great we are. We know we're good, but unless you tell the people, then they can make their own conclusion. I won't say it's conspiracy or not. The fact is, you ain't saying nothing. You mute. Yeah, and you can't see. But what's wrong with us? Why can't we get our message out there and be clear? And all you gotta do is amplify what's there. We're not saying for you to create content and create history. Just report what's there. Just share the truth. That's all we're asking. With that being said, I'm gonna have to close this out. I gotta keep going. Would you like to take this over, or can I keep going? All right. If there's anything else, is there anything else that needs to come before this programming committee of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners?
Yeah. So,
All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn out here?
motion to adjourn.
Well, that's right. I can adjourn without even that.
You can, but you have.
All right, guys. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead. This meeting is adjourned of September 5th.